Hey Googlers, it's Kasim and John from Solutions 8, and today we're going to teach you how we made a emergency animal clinic wildly successslow. And
Rich beyond all their wildest dreams. They actually
no,
sold their company and they live on a yacht.
Private planes. Lindsay Lohan is their butler.
That just sounds like a terrible butler.
You keep snorting all the flour.
It never shows up on time. They're on the wrong boat. It's just horrible.
Cool. Let's do it. Dive in.
Yeah, let's do it. Get right to it. I love it. So you're going to see a really common theme with an emergency clinic. This is an animal emergency clinic. They're in Florida. And one thing that is really common is everyone calls. Everybody calls. And that's kind of what you're going to see with emergency-esque type of campaigns. You want those phone calls. Now, we've run a lot of different types of campaigns in this account. And what we've seen is that when we do have call-only ads, they work. But what's interesting is you'll notice that with call-only type of ads, you're going to have crazy CPCs. The same area, and this is just on $1 a day right now recently, just because the client is going through a rebuild of their hospital, so they're going to be down for about 11 days. But when this was spending about the same amount of money, $150 a day, the cost per click on call-only ads, and this is something that's really common, is about $30 per click because it's really, how do I describe this? Not really competitive, but Google is going to make you pay for those. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but a click to call does not mean that every single click has a phone call. It means that when they click the ad, it says, hey, would you like to call this number? If they click no, you still pay $30. It's not pay per call, it's pay per click, but they're paying to click the call. So what we notice is that if you look out of 105 clicks to call, we got 19 phone calls. Now it's still at 18% conversion rate, and it does really well. Cost per conversion is about the same. So on the surface, these look really similar. Cost per conversion, right in line with itself. But with emergency type of how would I say it, or industry, I guess, anything with
any
high sense,
service.
yeah, any emergency service, you're going to pay a lot of money for possibly not a whole lot of relevancy. And that's another thing that we found is that we had very similar performance. Cost per conversion was good, even paying double, even though the drop off was about 80% of the people that clicked those buttons did not actually make a phone call. That's huge. Because if you think about just Google, they're just Googling something and then they see an ad and they click on it because they want to know, am I going to be getting to the right people? And when they click on it, it's like, would you like to call them? You're like, no, I don't know who they are first. And there's no way to get to the website. It's just a click to call. And if you don't, you have to go on to the next person. And that's important because in the high competitive ecosystem that is Google Ads, you are you and 3 of your competitors. If you're the only one running call ads, there's 3 people that get to show them, yep, you made it to the right place, and then call. And that's what we found is that I can have half the amount of CPCs, which means I can get double the traffic for the same cost. That's huge, especially in an emergency type of situation. Would you like to double your traffic with a really highly relevant emergency use person? Yes. So what I would say is test call ads. Just be very mindful of the drop off between the people that click and then that say no, because it could be 80%. That's huge, especially when you're paying $30 per click. And then when they come through, it's really search term, just like call extensions. When you look at call extensions are, I can click on the call button if I want to know more about that person, but I also get a headline. Call only ads, you don't get a headline. The headline is call the number. It's just the phone number, and it only shows up on mobile. So if you're on a computer, you're not going to show up at all. So when you look at the relevancy, we found that after listening to every single phone call, the real relevant ones are the ones that make it to the website. And here's the reason why. Because Google is going more pure broad, what you'll see is that if I click into this campaign for last month, I have a very select few keywords. Now there's 3 keywords here that are not in a broad match modified or phrase or exact match. We have 32 keywords, but these 3 here, if you look at the conversions, these 3 here are always the conversion drivers. And these are the ones that we've listened to and scored and said, yes, these are good. Now they're also the highest amount of clicks, but because of pure broad. Anywho, this is what's important about running call only ads for emergency or running a really relevant campaign that has a high amount of relevancy for the leads that you get to pay half as much for it and get twice as much traffic. When you look at the search terms, you can see there is just a ton of different ways that people are searching for it. Veterinary, 24-hour vet, pet emergency, animal clinic, vet open on Sunday, 24-hour, 24-hour. You can see all of these here are getting to the broad, emergency, animal hospital, broad. Now, this one here, dog vets open near me. Okay. Is it urgent? Doesn't look like it. Is it, someone that just want to say like, yeah, I need to get the nails trimmed. Are you going to pay $30 a click for nail trimming? I wouldn't. So you have a lot of high cost, not necessarily high emergency. But what you'll see though is there's few and far in between. And what's nice about this is running pure broad, which we recommend just because Google is running that way. You can see all of these here have about a 50 to 100% conversion rate. One impression, one click, one conversion. One impression, one click, one conversion. One impression, one click, one conversion. So high amount of relevancy. These are people also though, that when you look at the conversions, and this is where it kind of gets circled back to the beginning, the type of conversions are all still calls, either calls from the website or calls from ads.
This also lends itself to tracking and recording your phone calls, your on-site calls, because so many people running ads aren't doing that, and they're missing out on the ability to diagnose this type of success and/or failure.
Yep, and you can see that there's an equal amount. It's uncanny how close they are to the people that will call you from an ad and people that call you from the website.
Do we delineate when we score calls, John? Are we using different tracking numbers for each of those? Can we tell the difference?
Yeah, so we actually use one tracking number for the call extension. And then we use a different dynamically rolling tracking number on the website. And those two are two different tracked numbers. So we can disseminate between them. The interesting thing about this though is running call only ads. I would pretty much only end up with this for the same daily budget because I'm paying twice as much cost per click. I would miss out on 55 conversions for the same price because I would be paying $15 a click here, even though that $15 click is a call only ad.
Well, it's a call extension on an ad, right? But not a call only. Okay.
But it's acting like it.
Right.
Would you pay $15 per click to get 56 calls off your ad extension, or $30 per click to get calls off your ad?
Right.
So that's what's interesting too, is like running.
You want double the leads or not?
Right. We tracked on-site forms, but it was like every 100 calls you might get a form. So we end up just not tracking it at all. We only track the calls. But running high emergency, I see often, even this client came to us with a call only ad, and their issue was, I'm getting just a ton of non-emergency type of calls because everyone is driven to a call. And so that's what's really interesting is don't put a lot of weight on call only ads. I see that very, very often because people think, oh, I'm only going to pay if they call me. It's not. It's a call. It's still pay per click.
Well, there's so much education on the call only ads because they're so easy to build. So it's easy for educators to build a course for and sell the course and tell you how easy it is. But we can show you the data where it works and where it doesn't.
Right. And then the other thing too, for emergency areas, be very specific in your targeting. There was a lot of, let me see if I can blow this up here. There is a lot of calls that come from here that will call you. And then 3 minutes into the call, find out, oh, you're too far. So when you go broad, especially when you go broad with pure broad keywords, your locations are extremely important for emergency, because if I'm paying $15 a click, and you can hear that in the calls, I think at Ventura, they're right here in Deerfield Beach. This is exactly, I don't know why that glitched. There we go. They're right here in the center of Deerfield Beach. Boca Raton is where we get most of our traffic anyway. But the calls were like, yes, my dog is bleeding. He was hit by a car and I need to get to you. What's your address? And then you hear on the call, oh, here's our address. Wait, where? You're in Deerfield Beach? Oh, gosh. And that was $15 wasted. Super relevant, super, exactly everything we wanted to, just 10 miles further. With a bleeding dog, that's a 15, 20-minute drive, and you might not be able to save that dog. So
your dog just bled out.
Exactly. So the location for emergency-esque, especially with emergency, you could think about any type of emergency type of, emergency plumbing repair. You wake up and you walk downstairs and your couch is floating in your living room. they're going to call, they're going to look for someone immediately, but they're not going to want to wait very long, or they're not going to want to pay a $150 gas surcharge to get there. So all those things, think really, really high relevancy. When you're counting your conversions correctly, calls on the website and calls from the call extensions, you can see that your campaign can be twice as effective. And that's where another thing is, your default settings, I guess, in Google is you can't track the calls that are coming in from your website. And that's huge. That's a big gaping hole in your campaigns. So take down call tracking metrics, call rails, take down some sort of on-site call tracking service, so that you don't think that your cost per conversion is half of what it really is. Because emergency services, those type of things, they're going to call. I would miss 55 conversions. My conversions would be only 56. My conversion rate would be 4.44% instead of 8. My cost per conversion would be 360 or 320 or whatever it may be. And now this campaign looks like it's not performing, especially if you're an agency. Track those numbers on the website. It made this account look twice as much efficient because it was. And if you're not counting the phone numbers on the website for anything, urgent care, if you have, emergency chiropractic, if you have a veterinarian office that runs off hours, in the middle of the night, if you have an emergency plumbing, anything that has a high sense of urgency where people are most likely going to call, make sure you're making it to the website so you can say, aha, these are the people I need to call, and then call, and make sure that you're tracking those, because they will call more often than they will fill out a form. I've never been in an emergency situation where I needed something quickly and then filled out a form and be like, in 2 days, this is going to be
Only
resolved.
a matter of time.
Right. Yeah. It's like, all right, now I'm set.
Well,
So,
to the point of call tracking too, I'm going to stop sharing briefly so I can just look at faces. John and I were just on a call prior to recording this where we have a client, they have a massive spend, and we have a call with them tomorrow.
80K per month.
80K?
80K per month. Yep.
Wow. We have a call with them tomorrow where they're going to go beat us up on their supposed loss of leads or whatever. John went and reverse engineered the whole mechanism. We're actually producing more leads. What was it, 31%?
32% of their other calls.
32% of their calls are going unanswered. So to my agency people specifically, track and record calls, A, for conversion tracking, but B, you need to be able to diagnose problems. We're producing more leads for this customer. Their sales team isn't registering them because there's so many leads, they're getting overwhelmed. They can't even answer all the calls. 32% of their calls are going unanswered.
231 calls went unanswered, which is huge. I mean, especially when you're talking about the industry that they're in. These are high ticket customers. I mean,
they could be worth thousands, tens of thousands in some cases. And
even hundreds of thousands. Yep.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So I you want one just amazing pro tip, and it's that we use call tracking metrics. You can use call rails. We've got Go High Level 2, which is an amazing CRM. It allows for call tracking. There's really kind of no excuse not to do this. It's not difficult to do.
In this day and age, especially with Google Ads, like if you don't want to track the calls, run a billboard. That's basically the same thing. You're not sure what's going on, but you think it's working because phone calls are probably increasing from somewhere.
But the reason Google's even more dangerous than a billboard is a billboard won't spend more of your money for you if it thinks that it's getting what, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah. It's like, hey, if you're missing half the cars driving by, it's like you could charge more per month. So that's weird. And that's essentially what you're doing is with Google, you get to track everything. That's the beauty of running Google Ads, is everything is tracked. If they call from the ad or from the website, you can see the conversion rates, cost per conversion, how many of your calls are coming in. And if you're running call only ads and saying like, yeah, it's pretty good, just imagine that you're probably missing half of the people making it to the website that would have called you, and you're paying double, especially for the cost per conversion. So this is really like maybe not really an industry specific, but I guess it's industry specific. It's all emergency.
All emergency industries. Yeah.
Imagine DUI attorneys. You get one phone call from jail. I don't think they're Googling things, but unless you snuck in a cell phone into prison, then good on you.
Yeah, but I know how that's done, and I'm not doing it. Cell phones have gotten too big.
Yeah, there's someone in there in prison that's just like, man, the razors were great, the small thing.
Remember those little peanut phones we used to have? Yeah.
Little burner phones now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's the thing too, is like you really, if you're gonna run anything that has a high sense of urgency and high competition, run call ads, but just understand that you should probably run another type of campaign that at least sends a website traffic, and you'll pay half and you'll get double. And I think that that's what's interesting too, is like, if you think about the paradigm of your cost per click and your daily budget, half CPCs for still really relevant traffic means twice as many leads. And that's just, it's great. It's it's something that we've tested extensively. And I don't run a lot of call only ads just because of that issue. Is they're always $30-$40 per click. And then if you only get one phone call out of 5 clicks, let's say, your cost per lead could be, $250-$300. Yeah. So,
well, I think it speaks to the mentality of the prospect too. Like, people don't just want to call and connect. They actually want to see a site, see that you're legitimate, see a AAA badge or something that lets them know, like, okay, it's not a fly-by-night company. Even though it's an emergency, I want to know I'm on the phone with a legitimate human.
It takes 2.5 pages for a person to convert anyway. That's what we've seen is with between 2.3 and 2.6 pages, they then convert. They can't do that on a call only. That's the same reason why squeeze pages aren't a thing anymore.
Right.
And please, if you're using squeeze pages now,
Stop.
Yeah, just definitely test something else.
Yeah.
But people need to know, they need to have an answer for every objective that they come up with. Well, am I the first person to ever call this company? No, they have 374 5-star reviews. Am I know that maybe my dog's gonna get repaired? Well, here's all the happy puppies that are on our website. All of those things that people want to see and feel good about, especially when it's an emergency, especially if it's about a loved one, like an urgent care or an animal clinic. Those are super important. So I think that's everything.
We shoot a video every day. John goes live every Monday.
You go live every Friday, right?
Yeah, well, I might not anymore, actually, because we have something new cooking that I can't wait. We can't tell people what it is. So you're just going to have to know. There's big news coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. We do an industry video once a week, and we love y'all. The subscribership is growing just like super steady. Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, I get Facebook messages from people that took like the 3x Shopify or the masterclass we have that are just, they're just loving everything that we're producing. So it's we can produce all the content we want, but if no one watches it, doesn't do us any good. So just thank you for being here.
I'm sure you falls in the 40th. The marketer speaks on YouTube.
No one watches that video.
Really, we did it. High fives.
Perfect.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks, everyone.